In a world where we can be anything, let's aim to be more kind, compassionate, and inspiring. Welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. My name is Melinda Van Fleet, and I'm a mindset success coach. My husband Ryan and I were laid off at the same time 10 years ago. We moved to the Florida Keys without jobs, not knowing anyone, hardly any money, and we never even been here. So all along, I've said that someday, when we get our quote-unquote shit together, we will help others. Because since then, we've done a lot of self-work and both built successful businesses. My intent is to be relatable and bring you tactical tips, tools, share my learnings and stories that can help inspire you or transform you wherever you are in your career or general life. I strongly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. So what's stopping you? In my spare time, and I say that with half a chuckle, I've been working on my speech for next week. It's a new one, and it's a story about myself and something from the past, and it ends up intertwining thoughts about empathy, mindfulness, compassion, and emotional intelligence. So I have those crucial skills on my brain for quite a while now. And obviously for the last several months, as I had been writing it and now practicing it to get ready for next week. What's interesting and kind of ironic is something that happened to me yesterday. And yesterday would be Wednesday. Today is Thursday. And I'm actually recording this podcast early on a positive note here that because I am going to Vegas with my sister, her best friend, and my very close friend here from the Keys. We are leaving tomorrow. So I'm recording this a little early and scheduling it for Sunday. But anywho, so yesterday, Wednesday, I had a phone conversation with someone who I'd been working with since April. What's interesting about the phone conversation is that it didn't turn out even close to my expectations, which were that it could turn out good or it could turn out okay. It actually turned out worse than my expectations. And after the call, which was a half an hour, and there were two people on it and myself, and it was over Zoom. If you know what Zoom is, it's kind of like a Skype. It's actually what people are using now more than Skype. It's a great tool. And so my husband heard it. He was home. He heard the whole thing. And after the call, when we hung up, he just looked at me and was like, wow, that was pretty amazing. You handled yourself really well. I would have hung up on him. I had to sit for a couple minutes and write. I had to just get my thoughts out, kind of recap what was said to me that was just shocking and surprising at the same time. And what it boiled down to when I think about it is from the beginning, from my initial email last week, there was no compassion. There was no compassion or understanding of where I was coming from, of what I was saying, what I was saying I was going to do, and any feedback associated with that. The person on the other side was not seeing how I was feeling or what my needs were. And the funny thing about all this is my needs have been very clear, and I'm a very clear and direct person, good or bad, right? And the other person just didn't even try to see it at all. The other person just went on about their thoughts and putting me in a bucket that was actually just not accurate. So it made me really kind of dial back and think more about my talk for next week of how can I implement some of these learnings of really having such a strong sense of compassion to really know that you have to truly see what the other person is feeling, is saying, and what their intentions are, and not judge them, not group them in with other people and maybe your experience you've had with other people, because each one of us is different. And obviously, I love the coaching industry and I totally understand everyone has their own programs and their own buckets. Obviously, I do as well. But you have to recognize that people are different. But if you are clear about who you are and you need to segue from that, or you know you're a little different than the rest of the bucket, the other person on the other side should at least have the compassion and understanding and empathy towards that. Because it's nothing negative. It's nothing negative at all. If you're a mature adult, you can definitely, I hope, see both sides of a story. And, sometimes things work out and sometimes they don't work out. And that's cool. I get it. Everything has its point in time. I tell Ryan this all the time, actually. People always have their point in time. And some people you might know for the rest of your life, and they might be your best friends forever, like my sister and her friend Tiffany. Oh my gosh, I think they've been friends since kindergarten, and my sister's lucky she's got lots of those friends. So I'm not excluding any of the other girls either, but that's just an example. And then there's other people you might be friends with for just a couple years, and then you just kind of move on. You end up doing something different. You end up moving away, and your life changes, and you don't talk to them anymore. There's no hard feelings. You just have changed, and you've moved on. It's kind of the same with compassion. It's just understanding where the other person is and trying to put yourself in their shoes and then make smart choices from that. Smart decisions, smart ways to handle a conversation, smart actions to take, whatever that may need to be. What adds to this is this morning when I was going to the store, my phone is hooked up to my car, like a lot of people's are, right? And all of a sudden, a podcast started playing. And it was not one I had saved. And quite frankly, no offense to Oprah and Malcolm Gladwell, it really wasn't one I was planning on listening to. No reason, but I just wasn't really there yet, I guess. Well, I think the universe must have had other plans for me and started playing this podcast. And it was an amazing podcast. He's talking about his new book, Talking with Strangers, and he's sharing a story about a woman who unfortunately and horrifically had a terrible, and I think horrific is, I can't even think of a stronger word, and that's how I feel about this. I've been very moved by this story today. I had not heard of it. Had a altercation with a police officer, and her name is Sandra Bland. And you can Google this story because it is all over the internet, and just I don't tend to watch the news, so I missed it. But what it boils down to there is also compassion, also communication, also just stopping. So I ended up having, sharing that with Ryan, and what's the solution? And one of the things is it's just taking a second and stop. If you're in a bad situation, if someone's just going on and on and on and they're irritating you, which is completely human nature, we all get irritated. And that's what happened. Sandra was irritated. She got pulled over by the police officer. It sounds like unrightfully so, which knowing how the world is, yep, there is racial profiling. It is real. I have seen it myself with a friend of mine, and it was horrifying that this does happen, but it does. And she got pulled over, and it goes on from there. It's how do you look at that situation, and how could you have fixed it? How could you have changed it? And the only thing I can think of is you just have to stop. You have to stop the conversation. If it's not going in the direction that it needs to be, stop. Take a second. Walk away. And that goes with so many things in your life. There might be people that aren't treating you with compassion and empathy, and they're not going to change. They might need a break as well. A break forever, a break for a period of time. Who knows? But think about those things because you deserve to be treated with compassion just as much as you should be trying to treat someone else with compassion. So I hope this just gives you something to think about today. I was journaling the other night, and, if you just were nicer to one person today, one person, what a difference that would make in their lives. So many people are getting just, quite frankly, the crap beat out of them for stupid shit all day long. And just be nicer to that person on the other end of the phone. If you have to call customer service about something, just be nicer to the person in the grocery store who, maybe they're unhappy. Maybe they had something bad happen to them today. Just be nicer. Just think about that other person and be nicer. And then on the same token for yourself, stand up for yourself. It goes both ways. And I think it's completely okay to be at ease with that. Instead of closing on a mantra this week, I'm going to close with the golden rule. And some people may say that the golden rule is treat others as you wish to be treated, but that's not the golden rule. The golden rule is treat others as they wish to be treated. So I hope you enjoy my podcast. If you learned something, get some value, please share with a friend. I would love to hear from you. You can leave me a review on Apple Podcast. You can always follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn, DM me, or send me an email at melinda@melindavanfleet.com. My website is goodkarmasuccesscoach.com. And till next time, be grateful, be curious, always be learning, and you know what? Have some fun too. Thanks for listening. I'm off to Vegas.